his metal shelf, and today we're gonna interview Mirko, the singer of Akrasia, that has one of the best, probably actually the best vinyl collection that I saw in my life, and has a lot of knowledge about music, and especially about like metal music and also different genres. Mirko, thank you so much for accepting to give us an interview.
Absolutely welcome. Hi to everybody. This is a great experience, I think, to get close to somebody's personal emotion connected with music, or let's say arts in general. So good job and good luck.
Today you're gonna share like some of the best vinyls of your collection, right?
Difficult pick up, but I'll explain what was the criteria, of course. Not being easy to pick up 5 records throughout, as I told you already, throughout like a lifetime of experiences and memories that are connected to almost every record, so to speak, of course. I ended up not picking what I was saying before, that it would have been very silly to pick up my favorite top bands, because one of my best friends is still Metallica, nobody wants to hear about Metallica anymore. And also things that you don't, everybody gives for granted certain things, and I was thinking that it wouldn't be that interesting. So by scrapping through the shelf, I thought of records that are not necessarily my favorite records of all time, but some music that's connected to some of my favorite bands at least, or cool editions, not necessarily cool in the fashion way, but cool as the meaning of how it has been, the vinyl edition itself has been, put an effort to be available in case of a...
Curiosity.
Yes.
How you start your collection?
I had a healthy music background, so to speak, at home, because my father is a huge fan of old rock and roll, basically, classic rock and beat generation and songwriters. So like he started like his magazine in the early 80s with the world, with everything that is connected to the 60s music world. And then he found out that he started like DJing on a radio, and the guy, the speaker, told him that, like, I have found like 2 boxes of 50s and 60s singles.
Wow.
If you want to have a look at it, you can play it tonight and then just keep it, because I don't know what to do with it. This is my father went through the records, and like a whole like his teenager world came back to life, because he almost forgot about all the things. Small, you have to remember, in the 50s there was like the most classic thing, it was just to release one single, right? One hit single and a B-side. That's it. It was when like Elvis Presley records started having a lot of demand, that people started, from the music business, starting considering having more than 2 songs on a record. So those things were just in the totally forgotten almost. But when he got to see this, it's like, I don't know, yes, I think that there was like a flame got enlightened again. And he started collecting. So for me, I was seeing this, of course the contents were different, but like I was growing while my father was building his collection. And I think that even if, like, of course my music taste has been developed into an extreme, at extreme level, even if I have to obviously say that I listen more than just one genre. So like, of course, heavy metal has been my life, for sure, as much as it's a cliche. I like so many other styles, and I think that in the last, let's say, 15-20 years, I managed to dig some of my father's goldies, things that he was trying to play to me when I was a kid. But for me, it was just like, this is music for old people, I don't need that. But now I understand, because some of that music has the best sound ever
And music
recorded today.
Big
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my collection started when I started being interested in music, which it became sort of my new toys. It's like when I started growing up and I couldn't have fun anymore in playing with the toys I had to come up with a new thing. I don't know, just music took over. First was skateboard, and then music took over. So like bit by bit, I started buying. I used to buy a lot of CDs, especially in the early 90s, because we only had one record player, and that was in my father's room, or in the living room. So I had like this ugly tape recorder. I was destroying tapes mostly, then instead of playing it, and a CD player. But when I got my own LP player, I just kept on buying, and it's still going.
It's cool. It's cool.
Still going.
So for start, I know that was a very hard decision
to
pick up some vinyls from here. So like you could start from maybe the last, if you
from
can
the fifth,
say, to the most important vinyl that you think that you have in your collection. How many vinyls do you think that you have here?
I think it has to be around 1800, I think. So I don't think they reached 2000, but then again I have some leftovers back home in Rome, and things that I sell. You know, it's like, I would say less than 2000. It's probably accurate, or so. I would say so, yeah. Yeah. So my criteria of picking up records is not being easy, as we already said, but these are not necessarily my top 5 albums. There's some of my favorite bands here, but like, I don't know, somehow it's more like the release, how it is connected emotionally to me, or how it just looks, you know. So I would start with surely one of my favorite bands. This is the first Mercyful Fate single they released basically after their first EP. Danish Magic, or Danish Gift to the World. The reason why I picked up this one specifically is because it contains Black Funeral and the Black Masses on the B-side. And I believe, if my memory serves me right, it had to be Black Masses, the first Mercyful Fate song that I heard on a compilation called Deeper Into the Vault. And I was familiar with King Diamond, and I knew Mercyful Fate was more hardcore. So like, listening to this song, which has like sounds from hell, both on production, it's like massive guitar sound and heavy drums. Of course, then you have King's voice, which is
powerful.
It's just like an experience from another world. So I don't even know if this is probably called Black Funeral. Doesn't say much, but it has Black Funeral and Black Masses. I believe it was called either way.
Wow.
But yeah,
Mercyful Fate.
King is king. Let's try on the second one. This is Bathory Summer Art promo copy.
Wow.
That Noise released in 1990. Most likely it has probably been also used as test press, because there's absolutely no info on the vinyl itself.
Wow. I can touch this.
And I don't think at that point they had. I mean, Noise Records really didn't have, even like Bathory were obviously signed with Black Mark, but you know, distribution wise and all that, like Noise Records had a huge distribution in Europe, and they did this.
The most important band from Sweden, I guess.
Yeah, I would say so. It's fun because like you have some info on the front page, of course, track listing. Most likely this was dedicated to Quarton's cat.
This is
It says in memory of Rattis, 8790.
3
Now-
years
yeah.
for a cat.
Now you are eating from under the tables of the great warriors of Valhalla. So that Rattis, I thought at first a mouse, but fuck's sake, it had to be a cat, hopefully. And it was like, you know,
Yeah.
a pet, of course, if you're talking about Quarton, but like having a mouse as a pet, that's quite intriguing. Because
Could
it's a
be.
cat. On the other
A
side,
Viking pet. And
yeah,
something from
for example, here's like a short description of most likely what I would call Quarton's vision. So you have like a small introduction with the name, what Bathory means. Everybody guess.
From the contest of Bathory, vampire
So
myth.
we get Hungary has an important role in Scandinavian black metal, as in Bathory as the name, and of course when
And-
Attila came to become Mayhem singer. So of course the country itself takes a lot of dark background, but the funny part here, I guess, besides the description at the beginning, it says yeah, Quarton is basically the band's leader. Described as a 6.5 feet of fire-breathing neo-Viking madman and genius. Can't agree
Very
more than
humble.
that.
Yeah,
Humble,
but
yes.
you need to
And-
agree. It's
And then you have like small intro with the Hammer Art record itself. Hammer Art is death metal's Ride of the Valkyries and provides the point of contact between human experience and legend. The lyrics are poems, visions of a return to past glory. Where have we come from and where we are going? I mean, that's like a very short introduction to a band that already had a death metal following, right? It's fun because here it's like, okay, he's talking about his band as
And
a
he
death
loves-
metal band.
yeah.
But then again, you have, for example, and you know,
It's, he loves old English typing.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun because in the 80s labels were really like, whatever. So you had like, for example, Bathory appearing in the Speed Kills compilation. And it's like the very best of speed metal. Of course, if you listen to Bathory, there's definitely some speed metal at that point. But it's a cauldron of metal in general, of things that eventually would become classic speed metal, thrash metal, death metal, or like black metal pioneering, you know, like everything was lying under the label of speed metal. So yeah, that was a small break through the records. Okay, next one, we just named Mayhem, so why not?
Norwegian founders of
Of
black metal genre.
or more likely
Norwegian black
the
metal.
the Scandinavian way, or like, well, we can probably have a 3-hour episode about that. We are not gonna do that now, obviously, because there's so much has been said about this band, and probably so much more to say. But whatever. This one is a bootleg of a Mayhem rehearsal in '89. With what came to be known as the true Mayhem lineup. No need to, everybody into metal should know who's behind that lineup, so we are not gonna talk about that. The great thing here is that I don't buy thousands of Mayhem records for the obvious reason that almost everything is just a mere way of cashing out.
Yeah, and the release.
I have seen like some the ridiculous prints that lately Peaceville has done of every single Mayhem gig that they did with the true Mayhem lineup. The sound is horrible in most of them, and they still released it. You know, it's like every record costs 300 kronor, 30 euro, or about 30 euros. It's just. But the reason why I got totally hooked up with this one is because it contains not only some, it contains some of the, besides the sound, which obviously it's what it is, but it has some of the best Mayhem songs in it, with the nice info sheet, with the, actually some lyrics that I can't remember be published at the time of Death Crush. So it's really interesting that you get like a sort of a professional inlay on a bootleg, but the heart-shattering thing is, in a good way, it's the poster. It has like, it's a huge collection of dead drawing.
Dad had this talent of, he was drawing and also doing different stuff for his previous bands as well in Sweden, and after for Mayhem he was very creative in a dark way, right?
Absolutely. So I think that this is worth the price. Or
this is worth the price for
How
much was the price?
No, I didn't really pay much for it. But like whatever you say the price is, I think this is worth to have it as you said, like to commemorate just his creativity. Yeah, it was just like twisted and necro as you can think.
It's crazy.
But also charming in a way.
It is. So the
it's
way
like
that they put it's very
like,
nice. And the obsession of Dead with Dead itself.
Absolutely. So that was why I mostly picked up this record. As we said, it's like not necessary the value. That's what I wanted to say. The value is really less important than generally the content, the music contents. Of course, the music contents here is very messy because it's a rehearsal from many years ago. But then again, the package is beautiful.
So Mirko, what's the next one?
Next one, second last. It's again, this is like coincidental, but this is again connected with Mayhem, even if there's not much of Mayhem music here. Merciless from Sweden. This is definitely one of my favorite records. Not only
cover as well.
Yeah, it's one of my tattoos as well. It's Gustave Doré painting of. It's like a vision from the prophet Ezekiel called Visions of the Dry Bones. The cover became iconic, of course, but the record is really, besides like being an incredible masterpiece of death thrash, and it was produced by Euronymous on his Deathlike Silence record. That's like Anti-Mosh number 001.
Wow!
First Euronymous production ever. So he obviously had, everybody with taste knows Euronymous had taste. Had taste at least. Well, the thing is with this record is one of those records in the late 80s which defined, in a way or another, the transition between thrash and death metal. Meaning that like the material on the record is still probably considered thrash metal, but it's so fast and intense that, you know, it's just like right there. Of course you can name a few other albums that were released before this that managed to promote that sound, you know, like pushing it forward. I would totally say easy. Hell Awaits by Slayer and Darkness Descends by Dark Angel are maybe the columns of that new wave of thinking in thrash metal. But then again, of course, Pleasure to Kill by Creator is another one. But this is just like an outburst of freshness because it's tight, fast, killer. The production is unbelievable, and there's incredible vocals. Just like a perfect release that would start a generation of fantastic Swedish death metal bands. Merciless The Awakening is something that should be in every metal shelf. Last but not least, it's actually not a metal record. I wished I could take more out from the non-metal world because there's so many other music releases that are not metal that influenced my life somehow. But this has a special place emotionally and musically. First, King Crimson album. King Crimson, I think with this record, it's their debut. They started like an insane tradition of progressive rock that spread out from the UK throughout the world. But then again, this is like I use the word insane because not only of the cover. Okay, so this is the copy owned by my father.
Wow. So this has a lot of history. Yeah,
it's the record was released. If I'm not, I think the first when it was put out on the English market, it must have been either 68 or 69. But back then, distribution was much slower than today. Besides the internet, but like slower than even like the 80s, I would say. This is a 1972 Italian edition. That's like what my father tells me about this. When he bought it, he got like obviously hooked on this because okay, you probably read about progressive rock or experiment. I don't even know if the progressive rock term was already existing back then. But the thing is that this record is, I can easily say, and probably there's more people agreeing that this must have been like one of the top 3-5 albums in rock history all times. And the reason why is not only because of the incredible music that's featured in it, but it's the way musicians play. It's just there is some music that are just it's scary when even you play it today. Yeah. You have why this long introduction to this, because here you have first song on A side. It's like a total commercial suicide to put a heavy and insane song like that in the 60s. If for who hasn't heard the song, please go and check this out. 21st Century Schizoid Man. Doesn't even have to add anything to the music you might think from the title. When you listen to the music, it's like it all makes sense. The song is well, okay. First of all, I got totally. I remember this record being exposed around the living room when I was a kid, and like as a kid, seeing this guy,
yeah,
staring and not staring at you, being probably something as it feels like something must have scared the shit out of him. Then you have like a sort of cosmic creation, so to speak. I don't know, it just reminds me to the Big Bang. But again, this has given me a strong impact that led me maybe into the horror world, bridging to when I probably for the first time The Exorcist, Psycho and Shining. Those 3 movies, they just hooked my like dark side, I guess. This record has its weight as well, because then again, as I said, the cover is the first thing that I remember, or the oldest thing as I remember. It's like very difficult to go back. In those days I was extremely young, but maybe the strongest music emotion that I remember, it had to be when the very day that John Lennon got killed. I remember it was 1980. I remember my father coming back home from work with tears in his eyes, and like I couldn't. I'm never gonna forget that, because I only saw my father with tears in his eyes when I almost. I fell from like we were in the mountains in the north of Italy. I fell in like 3 meters rock space gap, and without being it's like I came out from that experience totally safe, it's like. Wow. But those 2 experiences,
I say watch many times, it's okay.
Me almost dying and the John Lennon death, that's where I remember my father with tears in his eyes again. So that's like a powerful emotion for sure. The cover, And when I heard the song 21st Century Schizoid Man for the first time, I was like, what the hell is this? It's heavy, it's schizophrenic. You have like the drummer plays as he's playing in a jazz improvisation. There's like a clarinet solo at one point. The riff of the riff goes on. It's insane. It's like total proto metal. It's you need to get this in your DNA if you're into metal.
It's a prophecy as well for this century that we're living now in the 20th.
Totally schizophrenic era.
Completely.
And then
and this is the feeling of panic
Exact.
attack that especially nowadays we're living with as well.
The fantastic thing with this then is like the next song is a suite of about almost 6 minutes. It's just like super sweet. I remember it's pure poetry. And then you have also Epitaph, which is fantastic both musically and lyric wise. So like that is a record that I think everybody should own for sure.
Thank you so much, Mirko, for this interview.
You're very welcome.
And you also are in a band now, in a project.
Oh yeah, my band, my Oslo-based band, it's called Akrasia, and we play a sort of, I like to call it crossover in the way that it's really blending genres. Most like you could define it like a metal punk experimenting. It's like still heavy and dark, with a lot of Celtic Frost influence in it, together with like post-punk and I would say maybe Amibix as like top influence on it. But very hectic. It's just interesting to. It's maybe the first time I actually play in a band where things are going a little bit, you know, experimental, so to speak. Even if it's still easy. It's not complicated riffing and stuff. And
if someone wants to get in touch with you about like even the band or if you're talking about like G-scos and etc., how to get in touch with you? Well,
I am very bad in social media. It's not like I am bad because of it. I just choose not to participate in it much. But Akrasia, my band doesn't have a web page yet, but you can find the music on the label's page, Ruination, German label, and YouTube. There's some clips and stuff. If I have a Discogs page by the name of Sonic Assassin 77.
Be here.
Okay.
All the links. Okay.
Mail me, mirko.scarpa@gmail.com. That's, I guess, all of social media available from this person.
Mirko, grazie mille. Metal Chef!
Welcome. All right.